The TrainingWell technique reviews the pathophysiology of joint and muscle function during recreational and competitive distance running and proposes technical adjustments to reduce and potentially relieve injury related to running. Let's begin by examining the pathophysiology, injury-causing movements of joint function and muscle function during running. In this video, we'll see that TrainingWell has taken into consideration elements from other running programs that you may be familiar with, including pose, chai running, and others. First, let's consider how muscles work. During normal muscle contraction, the muscle fiber shortens. This type of contraction, when the muscles shorten, is called concentric contraction. For example, when we contract our biceps, we typically contract them concentrically. That is to say, the bicep shortens as it contracts and lifts our forearm. If, on the other hand, we first contract our biceps and then an external force pushes our forearm down, forcing lengthening of our still contracted, i.e. shortened, biceps, this forced lengthening is called eccentric contraction, and it can damage the muscle. So how do the two different flexions, concentric and eccentric, relate to us as runners? As an example, let's look at shin splints with our new understanding of eccentric flexion and the problem of forward foot strike. Here we can see that the forward foot strike is not under our runner, but in front of him. To understand the importance of this forward foot strike, let's examine the mechanics of the lower leg. Greatly simplified, we see two main bone structures, the bone structure of the lower leg and the bone structure of the foot. We know muscles pull when they shorten, they can't push. So, to move the foot for locomotion, the front of the foot is actually lifted by the concentric contraction of the anterior tibial muscle located on the front of the lower leg, connected below the knee and on the top of the foot. The back of the foot is also lifted by concentric contraction, but this time by the calf muscle, located on the back of the lower leg, connected below the knee and on top of the heel. The lifting of the heel of the foot by the calf muscle is what pushes down the front of the foot, giving us liftoff. Notice how the relaxed muscles elongate when not in use and shorten when concentrically flexed. Now let's look at eccentric contraction. Imagine walking a city block without letting the fronts of your feet touch ground, essentially walking on your heels. Try this a few steps and notice what muscle you feel tire. Don't overdo it, because this is a certain recipe for shin splints. When we do this odd walk, we can feel just how hard our anterior tibialis muscles are working to stay contracted, even as the weight of each step we take lengthens them against the flex. They are not designed to absorb the entire weight of the body in a shortened flex state, flexing eccentrically with each weight-bearing step of the heel. And yet, this is exactly what happens when our foot strike is too far in front while running. Similarly, we see in this animation that once the leg is raised by the iliopsoas muscle, concentric contraction of the quadriceps raises the lower leg forward in a kicking motion. When the foot strike is in front of the body, the quadriceps contract eccentrically, and because the foot is forward of the runner's center on landing, the lower leg is effectively moved backwards against the natural concentric flexion of the quadriceps. As the quad tries to resist the forward momentum of the body, this again is eccentric flexion. Remember, our quadriceps like to kick out the lower leg. When it's forced to resist the weight of the body and gets lengthened, even as it tries to shorten, we have eccentric flexion. This eccentric quadriceps contraction causes muscle injury. The quadriceps is particularly vulnerable when running downhill because as the foot extends a greater vertical distance, the force of the weight of the body is increased. Yet this is exactly what happens when, as we run even on a level surface, our foot strike is too far in front. So, how do we correct this problem? Well, it's easier than one might think. Let's look at a key element to do this. But first, a question. What is the most powerful muscle in the leg? Surprisingly, it's not the quadriceps, not the calves, not the hamstrings, not even the gluteus muscle. It's a muscle known as the iliopsoas. Let's take a look at how the iliopsoas works. The purpose of the iliopsoas, its job, is to pick up the leg. We can see the iliopsoas muscle originates from along the spine, and the pelvis crosses the hip joint and inserts into the thigh bone. So we see that the iliopsoas, with all its power, provides superb leverage for efficiently lifting the leg. In fact, it is our belief at Training Well that the correct use of this muscle is critical to the running technique which will lead to injury-free, efficient walking and running. It is the key to training well. Now let's look deeper at the fundamentals of training well and how we can employ our iliopsoas muscle to improve our locomotion. First, we must stop landing the foot in front of the body. But why? Well, we know that landing on the foot in front of the body with the resultant supination, pronation, supination motion causes joint damage due to lateral motion, muscle damage due to eccentric contraction, and muscle fatigue due to the overuse of small muscles. We can see this in the following foot strike animations. Here we see a rolling in and out, or supination, pronation, supination, of the foot strike on the right, which is too far forward of the runner, while the foot strike on the left, which is under the runner, is solid. From the front view, again, we can see that the runner on the right is showing too much sole on the foot strike, which is, again, too far forward and too pronated. Finally, in this perspective view, we can really see the wobble of supination, pronation, supination created by the forward foot strike of our shoe on the right. And in this view, we see how the instability of the forward foot strike, supination, pronation, supination, translates up the leg, creating lateral stress of the ankle, knee, and hip of our runner on the right. This is best demonstrated in the knee. As the foot moves from supination to pronation to supination, the knee moves from outside to inside to outside. The knee is designed to move forward and backward, like a hinge. These motions in the ankle, knee, and hip can cause injury and destruction of the joint surfaces. Our simplified runners further demonstrate this lateral motion of the joints. Even with this new understanding, the forward foot strike can be hard to see. So let's bring our two runners together to better see this subtle difference. Now that we can really see the difference in the position of the foot strike, and we understand why we need to eliminate the forward foot strike, let's find out how to do just that with the Training Well technique. The Training Well solution is to land the foot under, not in front of, the body. Doing this reduces eccentric contraction of the quadriceps, eliminates the supination, pronation, supination wobble, and reduces the lateral motion of the hip, knee, and ankle. With Training Well, our technique is reduced to 3 simple steps: posture, arm swing, and lean. Correct posture involves aligning the ankle, hip, and shoulder by tucking in the butt and abdomen and lifting the chest. Good posture also reduces spine injury by aligning each vertebra directly above the one below. This distributes the weight of the body evenly on the cushion, known as the disc, between vertebrae. Additionally, this posture provides a mechanical advantage for the iliopsoas muscle. So, the elements of posture are butt tucked in, chest lifted, and the abdomen tucked in. Once this posture is achieved, contraction of the abdominal muscles maintains the alignment. And we can begin our arm swing. Bend the arms slightly less than 90 degrees and begin swinging in an easy rhythm. An arm bend of more than 90 degrees creates a mechanical disadvantage, essentially slowing down the arm swing and the stride. So, now that we've established our posture and arm swing, let's look at lean. We've established that our runner on the left has a nice foot strike which is under him, and our runner on the right has a foot strike which is in front of him. And now we can also see that our runner on the right is not bending his arms enough. And importantly, if we draw a line from the ear through the hip to the ground, we really see our runner on the right is running too upright. We see that the forward lean during the run is critical to establishing the proper foot strike. And by leaning forward with correct posture, we can efficiently land the foot under the body, providing a mechanical advantage for the iliopsoas muscle. By using the Training Well technique of posture, arm swing, and lean, you will be able to efficiently harness the power of the iliopsoas muscle and get your foot strike under your body. Your joints and muscles will be happier because they'll be working as they were intended. Your muscles will be contracting concentrically, and your joints will be nicely lined up and on axis. From Training Well, we thank you for viewing this demonstration and wish you lots of happy miles, and we'll see you on the move.